Hello, Dr. Hashmi here. I'm just a psychiatrist. This is my second video on the topic of ADHD throughout life, and it covers ADHD in primary school children. My previous video was on preschool children. Now, what do you see in primary school children which makes you think of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder? Let's look at the symptoms. As the name says, the child will present with inattention and hyperactivity. It is hard for young children, mainly the ones attend nursery or year 1, to make them to stay attentive on any task. But what you will see in ADHD children is significantly more inattention and hyperactivity. They would not be able to settle down or sit either on the carpet or in their chair to listen to the story or be joined in any little group activity. Instead, you will see them that their attention keeps on moving from one place to another, one toy to another. It's hard for them to settle down. So inattention, moving from one toy to another without exploring the toy, that will be the hallmark of it. Children usually, when they pick a toy, they like to explore it first before moving to another one. Then you will see physical restlessness, hyperactivity. Now, these two symptoms present differently in girls and boys. In boys, you will see more hyperactivity and symptoms will be more pronounced. Hence, the diagnosis or suspicion of diagnosis is a bit more quicker. In girls, they present differently. You might not see that level of physical hyperactivity as you would see in a boy. Hence, it is missed. The rest of the symptoms are disorganization, forgetfulness, daydreaming, and emotional outbursts. These 4 symptoms could be together. You will see a child getting easily wound up and reactive to the external stimuli quite quickly. Now there are 2 processes which I am going to discuss. One is information overload. The other one is auditory processing delay or disorder. But these 2 phenomena are separately discussed in my next video due to the complexity of these separate phenomena which exist or coexist with ADHD. They do exist with autism and also with dyslexia and other mild learning difficulties. Now, coming back to ADHD, the hallmark is attention deficit, inattention, the child will be inattentive, and hyperactivity more than the peers, other children in the class. Daydreaming, they will lose the connection of the conversation. It will be hard for them to understand and act on a command. So teachers have to remind them several times what they are expected or what they wish to be doing at a certain time. But they will be perfectly fine in the playground. They will be absolutely wonderful in sports, mainly the girls, who are seen as more interested in playing in the playground or football than actually sitting in the class listening to the story. The child will be more disorganized, very hard to put things around the child. If a teacher asks them, get the story out so that we can go through this story, the child will be completely lost which story the teacher is talking about. They will quickly lose the connection with the reality and slip into a daydreaming mode. So they need to keep reminding and keep bringing them back in the reality. And then of course there are emotional outbursts when the child can become quite emotional and quite abrupt reaction, either throwing things around, shouting, screaming, crying for no reason. These are all stress related because the child feels a bit inept and misfit within the system, within the group of his or her peers. That's how you see in very young children, primary school, nursery and year 1. These symptoms become more evident as the child gets older and gets through the classes. So in year 2, year 3 and year 4, you will see the symptoms become more pronounced. You will see that as the child is driven by a motor and constantly losing connection with the environment or what's being said to the child to do. Very, very hard to focus, concentrate and act. In boys, because these symptoms are more pronounced, they are easily picked. In girls, they are more psychological. Hyperactivity is more in their minds than the physical appearance of it. But you will see the fiddliness, the physical movement, the need for the physical movement, which is always there. For example, if they are wearing a hairband on their wrist, they will be playing with that. Or they will be doodling something. Or there got to be some kind of movement with their hands or with their feet or just doing something. They won't be able to sit still. In boys, they will be more climbing on the chairs, they will be actually running up and down, they will be very hard for them to actually keep themselves contained in a place. In girls, they do manage to contain themselves in chair or on the carpet in most junior classes, but you will see the movement might be in their hands or in their feet, or you just see them moving in their chair. So these things are more softer way. They are going to appear in more softer manner in girls than in boys. And these symptoms progress and become more pronounced as the child grows older. My next video is on auditory processing delay or disorder and on information overload. Thank you very much. Now, who we are. We are born with a code. That is our genes. Yeah. Then we are exposed to environment. That is nurture. The environment which raises us as adults. And then we have our learning. So we have our core genes we are born with, then that's a nature, and there is nurture, the environment we are raised, and then this is our learning. So the way we perceive information and assimilate, and the way we develop ourselves, and that what makes our personality. That's how we are. That's our personality. Now, once this personality is developed, we are at risk constantly stresses, from biological stresses, which are our body stresses, which actually our body is working, so our body actually is causing stress, technically stress. Then we have psychological stress. That means our mind perceives things, and the way mind perceives things, the way it interprets things and produce it, and the way it affects our emotions, that's all psychological element of our stresses which we are exposed to. Then we have social stresses. Social stresses, all social interactions, friendships, travel in public transport, interaction of any form of interaction with the society, biological relationships, social relationships, marriage, divorce, children, all the social element it cause some type of stress. And then we have environmental stress. Now, environmental stress is that environment around us can never be perfect, and always there is something which is out of our control. Our innate desire is that we like to operate on control, and there are things which are not and never be in our control. So that's the environment part of it. So all of these things, all this phenomena is ongoing all the time, constantly with us. It all depends on our personality, how strong our personality is to deal with stresses. If we are stable, and the reason is if our nurture is good, secure and loving environment, and we are protected from the adversities during the early years of our life, the likelihood is that we will be more stable person. And if we are more stable people, we are able to deal with these stresses and can lead a relatively contented life.